Hello, I'm Carlos from Walk21, and for this session I'm going to present the Walkability app, a participatory mapping tool to collect data on walking experiences in the public space. We've already used the app in 3 different cities within the TransSafe project. Last year we used a previous version of the app in Lusaka and Kigali, and this year we've used the latest version of the app in Kumasi, Ghana. Which is the project that I'm going to focus on for this session. But you can find more information and download all the reports on our website. For today, the agenda has 3 main parts. Firstly, I'll show you how you can collect data using the Walkability app on walking experiences and other variables. Secondly, I'll show you how we analyze such data for walkability reports. And finally, I'll explain to you how to conduct some impact assessments by comparing before and after data from different interventions. So for the data collection, the app can be used in 3 main ways. Firstly, you can conduct some walking interviews. And in this case, only the interviewer needs to have the app on their phone. They will engage in different interviews with participants in the public space and input their responses through the app. Secondly, for community projects, all the members of the community should download the app and have it on their phones and use it to share their own experiences throughout the project. And finally, experts can also use the app to audit the walkability of a place by rating the quality of the environment. For the case of Kumasi in Ghana, we conducted walking interviews, and this is what I'm going to show in a minute. You can see on this phone, I'll show you the app interface, but before I just wanted to highlight that the walkability app looks into 4 main types of information. We're interested in people, so some information about the pedestrians included in the study. Then we look into the walk context of these participants. Thirdly, we look into the walking experience. And finally, we also collect information about the place. So for the part of the people, we ask 4 different questions about the age, gender, ability to walk or interact with the environment, and level of activity of participants. Both ability and activity are based on WHO scales. So for example, for ability, we ask how difficult it is for you to walk or interact with the environment. And for activity, we ask how many minutes do you usually walk in a normal day. Participants can choose not to answer some of these personal questions, but they already give us a really good insight on the participants of the study. Looking into the walk context, we also ask 4 different questions. About the walk decision, we ask whether people walk by choice or out of necessity, and that helps us identify captive pedestrians who walk because they have no other alternative. For the walk purpose, we differentiate between transport and leisure walking. For the company, we ask whether people walk alone or with others, and the familiarity with the place, we ask if they're locals or visitors. The app also includes the other button, and interviewers can click on the other and include some comments with answers or responses that cannot be categorized with these predefined categories. The third point is the walking experience, and we have this Likert scale that goes from very negative to negative, neutral, positive, and very positive. So participants can rate their experience. And then after that, they can let us know what type or kind of experience is more relevant for them. They can choose between safety, comfort, enjoyment, and others. And finally, we ask about the place. So why do you have a positive experience? What made you feel unsafe in this place? And the app has 11 predefined categories plus other. They are based on walkability research and policy and include footpath, crossing, street furniture, greenery, obstacles, environmental quality, weather protection, other people in the street, traffic, interest, and inclusion. Participants can select one or more than one, and then optionally, they can also include more information about them. So for example, in the case of footpath, they could identify the width, the surface, the slope, or other characteristics as relevant for the walking experience. And we have a list of subcategories for each main category. Finally, we can take a picture of the place, and we can also add some extra comments related to specific projects. So once we ask all these questions, we create different points for each walking experience containing all the information that I just presented. This is a slide containing the whole data set for the walkability app. So at the top here, you can see that we collect information that has the coordinates, so the place, the time and date of the experience, which can infer the weather condition, and we also add objective observation through an image of the place. Then we have information about the pedestrian profile, the walk context, the walking experience and the type of experience, and finally the environmental determinants with the main categories and subcategories. We believe that this is a holistic and in-depth data set for a good walkability study. Moving to the data analysis, I'm going to explain what type of spatial and content analysis we can do with this data. So for the case of the project in Kumasi, in 2024, we conducted almost 500 interviews with 480 participants, linked to 1,500 observations. So these determinants that I just explained. So the first outcome of the study is to understand who walks there, but also who doesn't walk there, to create a profile of all the pedestrians. One outcome of this study is that we couldn't engage many older adults in the area. And another outcome of the project is the walk context, to understand why and how people walk there. So for example, in this case, we found out that more than 70% of the participants were walking out of necessity for transport, and also the majority were walking on their own, and they were locals. Looking into the experiences, we were able to calculate the different percentage of experiences. Unfortunately, in this study, we found very large proportions of negative experiences, over 50% in some cases. We could separate the data or the experiences by safety, comfort, and enjoyment, although they showed a very similar pattern. And we also identified the top 5 determinants, both for negative and positive experiences. So which were the things that people identified as influence for the positive and negative experiences. In a deeper analysis, we can interlink these determinants with the experience in these different graphs. So for example, in the graph here in this box, we can see the frequency of the observation, so how many times people highlighted or identified different things. And you can see that the main concern was obstacles. This is what most people talk about. Then footpath, other people in the street, crossings, traffic, and so on. And then in this graph, if the elements are placed in this area, in the red or orange area, it means that they're usually related to more negative experiences, whereas elements in this area mean that they are usually related to more positive experiences. This is another graph that shows the same data. We can see for each of the environmental determinants how many positive and very positive or negative and very negative experiences we collected. And we can also break down each category by subcategories. So for example, here I just added 2, but for the case of crossings, it was quite relevant that people were concerned about the absence of pedestrian crossings. And also something that helped prioritize interventions is that the subcategories for obstacles were mainly other vehicles parked on the footpath and blocking crossings, but also street vendors. One last outcome of the analysis is that because we collect data by age, gender, ability, and work context, we can see how different people and context may result in slightly different experiences, because not everyone has the same needs and concerns when walking. And this highlights that sometimes women feel more unsafe in the same areas, or that people with severe or extreme difficulty to walk share many more negative experiences. And we can do this analysis also by all the different categories that we look into the project. And finally, I'll show you how we can use the walkability app to assess the impact of different interventions. And this project is a clear example for that. So before the study that we just saw, there were some real interventions in the street, in the road, and then we went back to the same place this year and collected another 500 interviews. The interventions were guided by the results of the previous study. So they improved the footpaths, they removed some obstacles, they put new crossings, traffic lights and traffic calming measures, and they improved 2 school entrances. You could already see through the maps that areas that were up here, areas which were mainly perceived as negative, after the interventions had many more positive experiences. This is one kind of data analysis in which we compare the percentage of very negative and negative experiences and very positive and positive experiences before and after the intervention, and you can see the actual change in experiences. So we have here an almost 45 percentage point decrease in negative experiences for overall walkability, overall perceived walkability, while the very positive and positive experiences increased almost 30 percentage points. And we have very similar outcomes for safety, comfort, and enjoyment. Similarly, we can see the impact of the interventions by calculating an overall experience, kind of a mean or central tendency of the experiences. We can do so with all the walking experiences, and that's the walkability part at the top of the graph. And we can also look into the safety, comfort, and enjoyment, or we can disaggregate the data by experiences related to different determinants. For this project, we can see that all the mean walking experiences improved, and they moved from negative or neutral towards positive experiences. So the main takeaways of this project are that the walkability app is or can be considered an affordable and easy tool for walkability studies. And if you're interested in using the app in similar projects, please contact us. Also, we think that the app and these projects allow a holistic and in-depth approach, considering the people, the work context, the experience, and the place. Also having this special component with the coordinates and the place of each observation. Then also that the content and spatial analysis can guide policy and planning interventions, as it happened in this project in Kumasi. And finally, that the impact assessments ensure that the walkability improvements are effective, sustainable, and beneficial for the community. Thank you very much.